the city sent staff to look at the site, but they were denied entry. And then on Friday, the owner of the property did come and visit it with the city staff to talk about what was happening there. After that particular meeting, the impression taken by staff was that they were working on the basis for light poles in that particular area, and there was some discussion about a fence, but what was not communicated was the speed in which the construction was going to happen at that point. The staff did proceed with saying that if they were going to pour any more of the bases there for the lights, for the poles, that they were going to, make sure that everything is being inspected. So that was the impression on Friday. We do know now that they also started construction on the wall after that meeting and that site visit, and continued on during Labor Day weekend during the times during the times that the city was closed at that moment. On Tuesday, the administration did issue a stop work order on the property, and then yesterday we did start communication within the departments to figure out what were the necessary requirements and what other issues needed to be addressed on that particular site. That puts us at, where are we today? Thursday. So today there was two permits that were issued on behalf of the city. Those permits were issued prematurely by staff, but we are now in communication with the companies and the owner of the property to ensure that if we were going to continue forward with this particular issue, that they need to come into compliance with all city ordinances, regulations, including any state requirements. They have been very amicable when it comes to the engagement with the city at this point, and we will continue working to ensure that they are meeting all city ordinances for the time being. At this moment, I would open it up for questions by the press. Yes. There are some issues still with the permits, but being that some of the staff did release those building permits, we've reached out that we will be in communication, and they will have to be coming into compliance to all city ordinances.
Is there still a cease-and-desist order?
With the release of those, there is no cease and desist order at this point, but it still hasn't been released as a building permit on the property. But they have been given those building permits for both the lights and the fence. But again, we will have to circle back and make sure that they are meeting all standards from both the city and the state. Okay, let me get a question from the back over here. Ahorita hay ciertos requisitos. En este momento hay ciertos requisitos que no se han cumplido todavía, pero sí se les dieron dos permisos, miembros del staff y dieron los permisos prematurely, no sé cómo se dice en español. Los dieron los permisos prematuramente y después de que vimos más información sobre las aplicaciones, determinamos que todavía necesitan que entregar más información. Estamos en comunicación con los dueños y la compañía de la organización para que entiendan que tenemos que seguir con los reglamentos de la ciudad y que vamos a estar enforzando eso en los siguientes días. Bueno, esa ya sería una opinión mía. Y construyendo el muro allí, siendo que es propiedad privada, estamos limitados en lo que podemos hacer, y eso es los límites establecidos por zoning que está y el International Building Code. En mi opinión, creo que la gente tiene la mentalidad de que la construcción de un muro va a detener la inmigración en nuestra comunidad, el tráfico de drogas, el tráfico humano. Pero no creo que eso va a suceder. Los problemas son mucho más que un muro va a detener. Okay. Okay. The question is if the wall means anything for the community. I believe there is an impression that the wall is going to curb, drug trafficking, illegal immigration, human trafficking. I think those problems are more systemic and a bigger issue for the United States, and this particular wall, although it may funnel some locations, it's not going to curb those issues. Ultimately, it falls on Congress and the president to establish immigration policy and also work on curbing the appetite for the in the U.S. So those are bigger issues that this simple wall is not going to curb entirely.
Said that the wall was too tall, and they say that that was a mistake made on your part. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. Initially, being that this issue was, has been railroaded onto the city, and we are a small community. We don't have a lot of resources which many bigger entities could assemble large teams to address. Initially, I was told that this may be in violation of city ordinance when it comes to the height of the wall in particular. Upon further investigation, we have determined that this is under an M2, which is an industrial zoning, and it does allow up to 35 feet, as we understand at this moment. But again, because of the fact that this was going so quick, there have been some issues that did not allow the staff to properly vet the entire case.
Your Honor, respectfully, if you say that the permits were issued prematurely in some cases, do you think maybe you were also premature in saying that this was out of compliance with the city?
Well, it was out of compliance with city ordinance. They did not get permits ahead of time of the construction. If the company had done their due diligence beforehand, a lot of these issues could have been prevented. They would have known what the standards are, and it's going to be the same case no matter where you go. As long as there's an authority of either municipality, county, they're going to have zoning authority. They're going to encounter these situations. That's in any development, not just in this particular development. But they should have done the research and understanding what is required by the city ahead of time instead of coming over, 1 week or two, because I'm sure it took them a lot of time to figure out how they were going to develop this item or this particular mural. So if they had done their due diligence ahead of time, it would have given enough time for the staff to address the concerns at an appropriate manner.
Okay. Back to building again. So were they in compliance or were they not, or what got fixed?
They were not in compliance at the moment. At that moment of getting the permits. Now, there was a staff that issued the permits with the understanding also that they're going to continue working with the city to making sure that everything falls into compliance. The wall's been built. It's my understanding is up to 80% complete at this point. So what we can do at this point is pretty much ensure that they are getting engineers to certify that that was put in there and the material that was used was adequate, and that they can assume the responsibility for anything on that wall.
And who were the inspectors that, if I understand correctly, prematurely actually gave out those permits and gave the go-ahead, the green, to go ahead, and did they follow procedure?
The permitting process is handled by the Community Development Department. I believe the inspector overseeing that is Dwayne Solana, but under the supervision of Luis Marquez and ultimately the city manager. After a meeting yesterday, I think there was an understanding that we were going to get more information from the owners to proceed, and maybe they got that, they obtained that information and thought it was okay. But after further review with additional staff, we still see some discrepancies that still need to be addressed. Hold on. So we have a couple issues that still required review, and that includes pedestal plans stamped by New Mexico licensed engineer. We need a grading and drainage plan stamped by New Mexico licensed engineer. Also, we need to know if you conducted a geotechnical study for the project site. Also, we need the reports of those investigations and analysis. Also, the fence plan stamped by New Mexico licensed engineer. The name of the subcontractors for the electrical work. Foundation plans for the and also licensed by New Mexico engineer.
Let's say the answer to all those questions is no, we didn't get them, but they're still finishing it. So what's the point?
Right. They still have to. I mean, there can be liabilities associated with the building of the facility, and requiring the stamp, the engineering stamp, pushes that liability on the engineers. Yeah, let me go over here real quick. Yeah, let me go over here.
It says that they're basically have the all clear from the city to finish this project on a timeline of 3 days. Is that going to be accurate?
Right now, the all clear is not completely there. They still, if there are any violations within that are not met, they still need to comply with those violations. Again, we're charged with enforcing city ordinances, and if they're in violation of that, they have to come into compliance with that.
What kind of action can we see against them?
Fines are options allowed by New Mexico law. I believe there's a certain particular options fines. I'm not sure if this particular ordinance allows for imprisonment of up to 90 days, but those are all regulated by state statute, how much we can assess. But if we continue to see that they're working in good faith with the city of Sunland Park to meet all city requirements, we will continue doing that at this point.
Are there any fines being assessed for them?
I know the conversations I've had with staff at this moment, because they started without getting the permits ahead of time, that assessment doubles. And I don't know what that number is at this moment, but I'm sure we can get that information.
So Mayor, is this how it usually works? People get premature permits, they build something and then the city goes in, and how fast is the normal process for
This is not usual for the city of Sunland Park. Again, this project started real quick. There was a different impression after the initial meeting, and I guess some words got minced, and they took it as a go-ahead for the entire project. So they continued with it and got to 80% of it completed over a Memorial Day weekend. But that's not how it normally to come in, ask for permission, and figure out what are the city requirements or any state requirements. Proceed after that.
How long does that take? I mean, average businesses, it's not this record-breaking.
No. It depends on the project. Any particular fence, I'm not sure if staff can give me but about 2 weeks. We're anticipating that something would take.
What are you guys doing to make sure that something like this kind of chaos doesn't happen again?
Well, I know there's certain things in the ordinances that we're going to have to review. It's unfortunately it's a problem that was thrust upon us that moved rather quickly, and with a community with limited resources, you cannot move as fast. I'm not sure if that was the intention of the organization to get it done over the weekend without any supervision, but it is what it is at this moment. We'll have to look at ordinances and see what other capacities or available abilities we have as a municipality to prevent this from happening. And not only for this particular situation, but other situations across the city. As we continue to be one of the fastest growing cities in the state of New Mexico, these are issues that we continue to evolve and changing. We recently adopted our master plan, and we're in the process of changing our ordinances that are sometimes can be, well, some of them are antiquated at this point. Yes, sir. Hold on.
You mean conditionally, or you mean
I'm sorry?
by saying prematurely, you mean conditionally approved or issued in error?
I would say it was issued in error at this point.
Some people complain about the type of security that they have. They feel threatened by these people when they approach the area. And also, we heard some people saying that they're becoming very aggressive with officers of the city.
Yes, I have been informed that I guess they have security on the premises. My understanding is that they put security on the premises. It is private property, but they put security on the premises to avoid any protesting on the property itself, and I guess to protect the workers that are there as well. But I guess that's a better question addressed to those individuals. Of course, if there's any violations of law, I ask people to report that to local law enforcement. But on the city's behalf, we have received, I personally have received, my family has received death threats over the last couple of days. But we have increased presence. On Tuesday, I received, I believe it was the first death threat that I was aware of, and we did have police presence where we were available, or where I was present. And those have continued. Some death threats have been called into Doña Ana County. They informed me of that yesterday. I believe there was 5 called in over there. And they have been attacks to both me, and my family, with threats of coming down and shooting us all. So it is concerning. It is alarming because, again, we're a community with limited resources. And now we have to, on top of addressing the issue of this construction, now we have to look at the overall safety of our community. And in general purposes, we are a very safe community in the nation. So,
Mayor, do you
Yes.
feel like you've made any mistakes in the way that you handled this situation?
I think there have been, obviously, we're not perfect, and we're a small municipality, and this is the first time that I've ever had so many, channels here. I have over 5,000 emails in my email account right now. I'm sure my voicemail is logged. So there's been a lot of moving parts in this. I think there are things that we can improve on when it comes to the operations. And actually, we'll be sitting back when all of this calms down, see, okay, where were the mistakes made, and how do we improve from here on out? This is the first time that we deal with such an issue of this magnitude, and that has obtained a lot of attention, both national and international attention. So we're not perfect, and if someone has the solution for perfect, send it over, and we're more than happy to look at it.
Your Honor, they talked very graciously this morning about how Sunland Park is really working with them. Although, as recently as a day ago, there were some tweets from the founders of that group making rather defamatory accusations or implying them about you and the drug cartels running the city of Sunland Park. Just your response to that.
Well, I think it's a cheap blow to the city of Sunland Park, not only to me, but everyone else who's here. There have been some issues with the city in the past, but to assume that everyone is that way. I mean, I've been called a spick, I've been called a motherfucker, I've been called a lot of different things. But you know what? I'm not going to stoop to that level. Where they want to go, I feel like I'm a more educated individual and a more classier individual, and I'm not going to go there.
With the phone calls that you've been receiving, I know that yesterday there was thousands from all over the country calling in saying that they want the wall built. And then also you mentioned that you've received death threats. Were any of those calls for any that you know of violent in nature, or is it more just generally in support and things like that?
It's been a combination. I've had some people who have asked, continue to support the wall. Very polite, very friendly, and those are welcomed. But there are some that immediately go to, calling me names or calling the city names, associating everyone here being paid by the drug cartels. The accusations are endless. I haven't been able to answer phone calls because they don't come directly to me. But I know my staff yesterday and today have been getting constant calls. I don't know.
Would you say the most of them are respectful, or is it kind of the...
I have not been able to get to the 5,000 emails. I can show you on my phone. It's right there. I've seen the headings, and some of them right away go to insulting. But I mean, it's a combination, a percentage of how much are offensive, how much are threats. At this point, I haven't sorted that out.
What kind of effect did they have on this decision that you guys have made today with moving forward with the company? That itself did not make an impact on the decision. Again, I stress the fact that our responsibility is to make sure that they're following city ordinances, and if they're following city ordinances, the project can move forward. Because our authority as a government is limited. It's not like we are all powerful and all knowing, so it is limited as to what we can do. Being that the project has been built, we will continue to make sure that everything comes into compliance. Yes, sir. Sí, a través de los últimos 2 días, desde el sábado se me hace que empezaron, sí hemos recibido varias amenazas de muerte a mi persona, también a mi familia y también miembros del cabildo y del staff o de los trabajadores aquí de la ciudad de Sunland Park. Esto ha creado un nivel de seguridad. Tenemos que asegurarnos que tengamos la policía presente y continuar con la protección de toda la gente. Nosotros en la ciudad de Sunland Park siempre hemos sido una ciudad muy segura y lo vamos a continuar haciendo. Y es triste ver que la gente luego salte a amenazas cuando están de acuerdo con una decisión. Si entendieran que tenemos que seguir un procedimiento y que las leyes están ahí por una razón y tenemos que forzar esas leyes, se me hace que seríamos un país mucho más amigable. Mayor, can you kind
And I understand there's some concern there, and we will be having the conversations. I do not have direct oversight of all the staff, but my communication will be with the city manager to address these concerns. Yes, sir.
Mayor, the group is speaking like this is basically a successful pilot program for what's going to be the first of potentially 10 subsequent projects, probably in small, unprepared communities like yours. What would you say to leaders in those communities?
I would say to first be aware of what's going on within the community. I know in our particular situation, the location is blocked off from pretty much the rest of the city, so it's pretty much hidden. But be aware of what your rules and regulations are, and if they see movement within the community, to immediately approach the individuals to ensure that they're coming into compliance. I know there's even smaller municipalities across the border that have less resources than we do. But if they can count on the resources from their state or even their neighbors to work with them as well to help through this process.
Do you think the state needed to do more for Sunland Park?
Well, there's the restrictions, but I think there could have been improved response or a better response. But I know a lot of the burden does fall on us, and because it moves so fast, even on our end, we couldn't go to the state right away without sorting everything. I know one of the issues we dealt with was the jurisdiction, and because so close to the border, we weren't even sure if it was within the city's jurisdiction or if it was under the jurisdiction of the International Boundary Water Commission. So it didn't only catch us as surprised as a municipality, it also caught a federal agency by surprise. So collaboration between all the government entities is critical. So make sure that those lines of communication are established. I do want to say the International Boundary Commission, Water Commission did let us know yesterday that it is within our jurisdiction, and they were very friendly and amicable and willing to work with the city of Sunland Park.
Mayor, sabemos que el muro es una realidad, ¿verdad? Entonces, yo lo que te quiero, como yo soy residente de Sunland Park de los últimos 30 años, quiero decirte y hacerlo público que el orgullo que me da, aunque no somos amigos, no somos nada, hemos tenido problemas en la política, el orgullo que me da que estés aquí defendiendo y protegiendo a nuestra comunidad. Porque estos hombres creen que porque tienen dinero van a hacer lo que ellos quieran y a nosotros nos van a respetar. Gracias, Mayor, por tu apoyo, y yo te aseguro que yo soy la voz de mucha gente ahorita en Sunland Park que están orgullosos de ti.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes.
Kind of what you're saying, can you speak to what it means for a group like this that can just, bulldoze into a project, sidestep process?
Can you repeat that question for me?
Can you just kind of comment what it means for an organization like this to just kind of bulldoze through a project and sidestep to the process?
What it means. First of all, I think it's disappointing. These are individuals who are, I understand where they're coming from. They feel that they're building the wall is going to give them the protection that they're looking for. But we talk about doing things legally and illegally, and this is one of those issues that if you want to continue working in a nation of laws, try your best to adhere to those laws. So I hope that this is both a learning lesson for the city of Sunland Park and how to respond, but also a learning lesson for them to how to work with the local entities to ensure that what they're doing is within the boundaries of the laws and it respects the communities that they're affecting directly. Yes, I'm sorry.
Do you know how much land in Sunland Park on the border is privately owned? Is there a possibility this could happen again? And if so, what do you think about that?
Just about all of the land within the border is owned privately. I believe there is an area owned by the U.S. government, the Union Pacific Railroad, and the city of Sunland Park, but everything else is pretty much privately owned. The city of Sunland Park does have a wall that has been in place since the Bush administration, and it was redone a couple years ago under the Obama administration and then finally executed under the Trump administration. So there is a wall in place already, but for the development of that wall, the city of Sunland Park was notified well in advance. The environmental studies were done well in advance, so it wasn't come in overnight and do it. So that's just one of the small without a wall in the city. Yes, sir.
The We Build the Wall people today, the construction manager, Mike Fury, claimed that the reason he didn't get a permit was, and this is a quote, the permit manager was on vacation since Wednesday, so they just never ended up giving it to them. Is that correct? Was there somebody in the office?
My understanding, the initial contact that they made to the city was on Friday.
Okay.
There was construction that started before that. My understanding is that they may have started on Monday. We were notified by the Construction and Industries Division from the state of New Mexico that there was construction going on the premise. So then our staff went over on Thursday, and they were denied access to the property on Thursday. On Friday, the owner came in and met with city staff. And that's when some conversations, which were pretty vague in nature of what they were doing, were had. And then I guess there were some words that were spliced, and it was taken that you can do everything, which is not the case in my understanding at this point. So then that's why on Tuesday, okay, this needs to stop.
And to follow up on that, after the initial incident happened, Brian Colpage, the leader of We Build the Wall, started going after you personally and claiming that you were, quote, paying the cartel. How do you respond to these allegations when We Build the Wall in your city?
I mean, those are all completely lies. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a cheap attempt to discredit the progress that this city has made. And it happens on a regular basis when people can make intelligent and articulate arguments. They go to the cheapest level. And to me, I'm not bothered by it because I believe, like I mentioned earlier, I have much better class than that. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Just have a good day.